No, I want to say something right here. This might make you all think. Life is not really long. Let's say the average person 30 years old. If you're 30 years old, you are not but about 7 years old. How can I prove it? Add up all the 7, 8, 9 hours you slept for 30 years. Out of 30 years, add up all the nights, last night when you went to bed and woke up this morning, you don't remember a thing. You've been unconscious for about 8 years. If you're 30 years old, you slept about 8 years. Okay. How much traveling have you done in 30 years? From the television station to home, to another country, to another city, to school, to church. You've probably traveled 2 years of your life or spent just getting back and forth to where you're going. So there's 8 years of sleeping, 2 years of traveling. There's 30 years out of your life before you accomplish anything. How long do you sit in school? In America, we stay in school from the 12th grade from the 1st grade to 12th grade. Same here?
Yeah, virtually.
6 hours a day?
Yeah.
6 hours a day for 12 years. Break it down. You sat in the classroom for 3 years without leaving. Okay, 2 years of traveling, 8 years of sleeping, 3 years of school. How many movies have you went to? How many wrestling matches? How much entertainment? How many movie theaters, live plays, baseball games? Probably 2 years of entertainment. So by the time a man, you older people know him, bear with us what I'm saying, by the time you have children, by the time you have made a way for your children, by the time you've paid for your home, you're pushing 60 years old. So life is real short.
All right, you're listening to Intuna Ikuri.
Jotti.
Welcome to the Ego Trip, the weekly podcast that explores the different aspects of motivation, ambition, and you guessed it, the ego. Let's do it.
Welcome to the Ego Trip.
What I took away was that we really don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Especially when we're younger. We think that we have all the time in the world to get whatever it is we want to do done.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth. You know, you're looking at a guy like as accomplished as Muhammad Ali, who's done all this stuff, Olympic gold medals, world championships at this point, on top of like numerous like civil rights things that he accomplished, you know, in a, you could say a really short amount of time.
Right.
But for the rest of us, I think what he was really trying to stress is that you really don't have a lot of time. And so when he used that 30 years in a 30-year period, he's saying, hey, out of 30 years, you slept 8 of those.
Yeah.
And so looking at with us, you know, as far as individually, as far as the things that we want to get accomplished, I think he was really trying to stress that, hey, focus on what it is that you want to do and go after it with everything you've got.
Yeah.
And the other thing that he was talking about was also being asleep. So with that being asleep, you know, we prefer to be that way.
Yeah.
You know, instead of waking up to how things are going on, just stay safe in our daily routines, day in, day out. Don't wake up and realize how the world is changing,
right? How
technology is coming in socially or culturally, the things that are changing and coming in and going out. And so, yeah, a lot of us try to stay in our corner, hoping things stay the same and that we've got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And so to see a clip like that, and what's crazy is that clip that we watched, I've never seen that. And I've watched a lot of clips on Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, that's an actual rare clip. I don't think he was in the United States. I think he was overseas.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
You know, and it's not the more famous clips because I think it was toward the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
You know, so very insightful and inspirational to kind of make you look at yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say my age. I'm not going to say my age, but it did make me have pause to think about where I am in my life and, you know, where we all are in our life and thinking like, okay, how much time do we have? So if you are a younger person that's, you know, in their mid-teens or even in your mid-20s, the encouragement is, hey, go after whatever that thing is that you dream about with everything you got right now.
Yeah.
Because and not to get sad or morbid about it, but we really don't know if tomorrow is it, or if you only have 5 years, 10 years at the most.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, just in kind of us talking about it right now, I think any reminder that we can have that is telling that reminds us how short time actually is. We have to go.
Yeah.
We have to go after it.
I listened to Dame Dash talked about it. I know
who did.
Dame Dash.
Oh yeah,
one of his interviews. I think his interview with Breakfast Club, and he talked about the very thing as far as if you're not working for your last name, you know, you got to work for your last name. And then he was just talking about if you're not working for your kids and you're working for the next generation, then you're being selfish. And if you're just using your life just to get by, like I'm just here to just pay bills and just live paycheck to paycheck. You're not really living. You're not really doing the things that you. And I'm not discrediting nobody that is actually doing that, but we can. I think life, we have to find what it is that is our purpose and what we're here to do. Because the faster we get to that, the more productive we can be with our life.
Yeah.
As far as moving.
I think because people on the radio tell people it's okay to have a voice, they don't understand that they can have more. And because of the direct-to-consumer relationship, the internet, there's no excuse. So when I make a movie like Rosada's, I don't have to ask if I could put Daniel in it. I just do it. I had to ask if I could put... Wait, hold on. I had to ask if I could put Cameron in.
And paid it full. Okay.
I don't have to ask no more. You understand? There's pride in it. It's just a pride you should have in ownership.
So how do you get to that platform? How do you get to the platform?
By putting your own money up and investing in yourself. That's it. You flip. And getting a good woman and stop trusting dudes and stop worrying about other people's pockets and what other people have and what other people can do for you. And 9 to 5s aren't good because you hustling for a weekend. But when you do something that's for yourself and your family, it never feels like work. I hustle for my last name. I don't hustle for my first.
So think about in your mind.
Yeah.
There are like 4 people that I can kind of think about that we know were ahead of their time, but they were younger. And what I mean by this is these people were either artists or athletes or businessmen and women that really had a good idea of who they were, but they also had a good idea of what it was that they were trying to do. And they took advantage of time. They worked like they were not going to be around tomorrow. They worked aggressively. You know who those people are? I'm going to start saying these names.
Yeah.
Tupac.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tupac, you can find clips. Go and do a search on Tupac, and you'll hear him, the way he recorded his songs. I saw an interview of Snoop. Snoop talked about his work ethic. Mm-hmm. Snoop was talking about recordings with Tupac to where he would come in a night. They would knock out one song. They would take about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, write.
Yeah.
Turn around, record it, and then do another one. So 3 songs in a night, maybe like 3 hours.
Right.
But everyone that worked with Tupac talked about him in this crazy way that he would do several songs in one night as if he wasn't going to be here the next day.
Yeah.
And Snoop walked away with that saying, hey, my career was changed by seeing how that guy worked. And we can see, what a guy like that, how his impact of all the things he was able to get done, not just the music, not just movies, but just culturally, all the things he was able to do.
He worked like a fucking racehorse. Like,
he was a fucking workhorse, man. That's why he got albums coming out almost 20 years after his death. He still got fucking songs that ain't been heard.
We be in the studio, he'll make a song, it'll be like 30 niggas in here. He'll make a song, he'll let him get on the song, him get on the song, him get on the song. As soon as the song go off, he won't even listen to it. Put that shit over there, pull the next beat up. He get on to the next beat. They writing some more.
We only got 2 weeks to do this whole album. Completed. But while we in here, you got like 8 rappers here, and everybody drinking and smoking and shit. Man, get that beat popping, throw them niggas on the track. You catch everybody freestyling, throw them niggas on the track. Boom, that's just the name of the song is whatever this nigga said his last word was.
Boom, they finish that song, and he say, I'ma do one by myself.
We don't have time or the luxury to spend all of this time doing one song. We don't have it. I did my whole album. I know it ain't all of that, but I did my whole album like 3 songs a day.
20 minutes later, he in that motherfucker betting it. There's 3 songs this nigga done did.
Hands in the air, it's a robbery. It's Snoop Dogg, nigga, pop. Would you ride with me? That be the song.
And part of me actually was scared by that in a weird kind of way. So I remember seeing that video of Tupac talking about that and Snoop kind of breaking down the work ethic of Tupac. And we've seen it in almost in a lot of other famous people. But it kind of scared me in a way, that thinking about myself, where it's like, if I work like that, am I gonna come to the same?
Right.
Am I gonna go out the same way that they did?
Same demise.
Yeah, where it's almost like you serve your purpose too quickly. I know that's funny. I know that's kind of crazy. But part of me was like, man, if I really figure this thing out as to why I'm here, and I have this super aggressive work ethic towards that,
right?
Will that shorten my time? You know, it's like it kind of in the back of the mind. Now that's just me being funny, but no, I
mean, you got a
crazy.
point though. I mean, everybody that has went to that point, died young.
Not everybody, but
well, most people, man.
Yeah.
As far as what I mean, what we talk about is entertainers, and you talk about politicians.
But you know, I say that in jest. What's really being exposed is really fear behind that.
Right.
And what's funny is I think a lot of people kind of think like that, where whether you say it consciously or unconsciously, you kind of have this fear of, it's almost fear of success.
Yeah.
If I come to understand why I'm here, I start putting in effort to go after that thing, and then I actually accomplish it, then what?
Yeah.
Because if you accomplish what you feel you're here to do, your life will fundamentally change.
Right.
You're going to probably have new friends.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have a new living situation. It is not going to be the same. And I think deep down, we truly understand that if we actually become what we're supposed to become, what we know we're supposed to become, it's not going to be the same as where we are at this point in time. And that is a very scary thing. Yeah. You know, so I'm using Tupac as my muse for fear right now.
No, for real.
That's
for
my
real.
bar, but no, that's the thing. And then the other thing I was gonna throw out to you as almost as a question is: do you think that because these people? Now, I said there were 4 or 5, and we only talked about Bob Marley and Tupac.
Bill Gates.
Yeah. I was gonna say Steve Jobs. I was gonna say Steve Jobs. I was gonna say Steve Jobs. But then there's also, there's a lot of people. I think Kanye knew where he was going to be at early. I like Jay-Z's story. Now, Jay-Z was a little bit older, but I think he really understood himself in the lane he was going to go.
Yeah.
I like Elon Musk.
Yeah. Right.
I love Elon Musk and his direction and kind of understanding of where the lane he wanted to play.
Yeah.
And so these people, once they figured it out, like, this is why I'm here, they got aggressive.
They went on and did it,
Yeah, they got aggressive. But I'm sorry. So here's my question is this. Do you think that if you can figure out what your purpose is and why you're here at a younger age, does that increase your quality of life? Or does it lower your quality of life as far as you're not balanced, as far as family, friends, and all of that? Well, so what do you think?
I feel like that all goes to the first rule that we always talk about is know thyself.
Oh, snap. The first rule of the book.
That we talk about all the time. The first rule is to know thyself. So in that place, I think there's a lot of people that their gifts open the doors for them, and they do, and they get successful in their gifts. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that's their purpose in life, you know? And I think if anything that I think when you have a responsibility, sometimes it costs. So it's going to take something is going to be sacrificed in the midst of whatever it is, you know.
Do you think that for those people that they as individuals, the quality of their own life as you know from their position actually got better, or did it get worse?
And so that goes to it depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because whatever I think success feeds whatever the thing that they feed the most themselves, you know. So whatever I put my time and whatever I feed myself, and so of course you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do in your career, and then outside of your career. So once you do your job, the things you do as extracurricular, you know, as far as if it's drugs, alcohol, women, or whatever,
Yeah.
those things or whatever, or if you just sit at home and just want to be with your family because you know that's what means more to you than anything. But there's been a lot of people we're talking about. Like I'm very fascinated with like Richard Pryor. I'm very fascinated with like these dudes, Basquiat, and all these people that had these amazing gifts, but their personal life and just what they
Was
their
chaos.
quality of life was just
Was crazy.
yeah. Because psychologically, and growing up in the midst of all of that, they used their gift to just kind of cope with what they were coping.
Oh, instead of dealing with the real
Instead of
world, they
dealing
use
with
the gifts as a coping mechanism.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I feel like them doing that, they're awake. They know like what it is, but this is the thing. In the midst of all that, the reality is so crazy that they use drugs and did so many things to keep themselves sleep.
Yeah.
So they can be sleepwalking. Because when you get to that certain level, yeah, your mind is open. You start to see things for yourself. A lot of the friends that you once had before is constantly changed. All this stuff
Right.
started happening because of fame.
Yeah.
And if you don't know yourself, you don't know who you are. Well, you probably know yourself, but you're not dealing with yourself.
Right.
You know, it's. I think it's two things to understand why you do the things you do, and then when you know yourself and you deal with those issues, because Richard Pryor had issues with his family, like his mom, abandonment. He was raised by his grandmother. Basquiat, his dad, and his dad never supported accepted him.
Yeah.
And so his quality of life, yeah, he was successful, but his quality of life was poor.
Right.
Because it went to drugs, and then it went.
So you think that realizing your gift early, you're realizing your gift or realizing your purpose at an earlier age doesn't necessarily increase the quality of life. It can also be a curse.
Yeah.
As
Michael
well too.
Jackson.
But he made Thriller.
I know, but man, he didn't have a childhood. It costs.
Right.
Like that stuff costs, man.
Yeah.
The time that you become famous and you get in that light, you're grown. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
There is no going back.
There's no going back.
Yeah.
You could be 10 years old. You're grown.
Yeah.
It's no point about you're accepted. You'll go in places that normal people would never go at a young age, but you 15 in a 21 and up spot,
Right.
And all these places only because of who you are and your name. And so instantly you have to grow up. You have to sacrifice. So it's a sacrifice within you as a child and in that time to where you were doing certain things and you can get away with it as far as learning about yourself, make certain mistakes. Well, you're doing all of that in the limelight. And so as soon as you make a mistake, it's going out in public. Everybody sees it. So you have to carry yourself a certain way. And it's not necessary. I think going into young, I think it's very important to have somebody to mentor or somebody to shape you or somebody to be right there that can kind of mentor you through it. But a lot of the examples that we've seen, like Michael Jackson, he had Barry Gordy. He had a lot of people that was around him or whatever, and he was a very shrewd businessman. He's very cold with it. But at the same time, because he didn't have his childhood and had certain things,
You come out with Neverland.
yeah,
Neverland.
and then he had a certain innocence about him because he wanted to live that life. He wanted to be a kid again. He wanted to go back to that, but he was on the road and doing what he do. So, yeah, I mean, he's a prime example of that.
Yeah.
And on top of if you see all the young acts, Justin Bieber, all of them, it's just certain things. When you get to a certain age, you're like, man, I want to be. I mean, this life chose me, and I have to.
Right.
Do what I do.
My purpose? Oh boy, I think to give in the best way I can through song and through dance into music. I mean, I am committed to my art. I believe that all art has as its ultimate goal the union between the material and the spiritual, the human and the divine. I believe that to be the reason for the very existence of art. And I feel I was chosen as an instrument to just give music and love and harmony to the world.
What do you want the world to know about you most? I ask Liz that of you. What do you want them to know?
Like to be remembered for?
Well, not be remembered for. What about known for now? Forget remembered.
Oh, known for now. As to be an artist, a great artist. I love what I do, and I would love people to love what I do. And to be loved, I just simply want to be loved wherever I go.
Well, the thing is, I think, the final piece of this is, and we were talking about this, is and we talked about it a little bit on the last show too, is the self-awareness piece that's most important. Yeah, so we talked about it on the last show. Excuse me. The self-awareness being number one, super key, in that the quicker we get to a point to where we know ourselves and we become comfortable with that person,
Yeah.
we become less likely to get distracted and pulled off into things or into directions that don't make sense for us.
Right.
And I think it also helps us with getting that sense of and value of time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things, now that I'm thinking about it, that really get in our way, that come after us, that become very easy to kind of sway and go,
Right.
to another area that are not, what our goals and ambitions truly are.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I find myself like just envious of those people that seem to like be really comfortable in where they are.
Yeah.
I think for me, the other part of the knowing yourself, being comfortable with that, and then moving in it, is these people are able to make mistakes, but I think at the same time, they're able to take on the fear that comes with making those mistakes
Right.
in front of their friends, family, and the world, and use those to learn in a feedback loop and propel them forward,
Yeah.
So with looking at myself, I can see where so many times, and we talked about this on the last one as well, where you use the outside judgment, and allow that to hold you back.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
we were talking
yeah.
about with the ego thing.
Yeah.
And you look up and it's been 10 years, 5 years, 10 years that you haven't done something, but you're really not taking action on whatever it is you want to do because of that judgment of the outside world
Right.
and people. It takes self-awareness to understand you've been holding yourself back because my father said I should go to college versus
Yeah.
going out on my dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you might have identity issues from that self-awareness perspective of, should I be more like my father? But
Right.
yet I have an artist inside me that wants to travel and go do music on another side of the country.
Yeah.
But I'm being told I need to, go to school. What do I do with that?
Yeah.
And you look up, it's 5 years, it's 10 years, all kinds of things. And so I think that, yeah, that's my final point with it, man, is that self-awareness piece is big. And I think that's going to come up a lot with our discussions is
Right.
know yourself, whatever you have to do to put yourself in a position to figure out, why am I here? What motivates me? You will be head and shoulders above, everyone else as far as competition, trying to go after what it is you're trying to get. So,
Man, another thing I want to say is in your quality of life and time, when you pretty much got an idea of what it is that you're trying to do, man, get close to somebody that's already
Oh, that's a
perfected
good
that
point.
thing, so that way that you could cut that time in half
That's
as
a
far
good
as
point.
get the experience and get some mentorship,
Yeah.
and do whatever you gotta do. I'm not trying to be all like, but I feel like I really believe in the mentorship. I really believe in connecting with people that have experience in certain areas that I want to have experience in, and then just get closer to that, so that way I could cut my time in half. because a lot of stuff I had to teach myself. But then when you teach yourself, it costs too. It all costs. You got to understand that everything costs. So if you feel like you can do it all by yourself, well, you're going to do that, and you probably will get it all by yourself. But it's going to take time. The thing you're going to be wasting a lot of time trying to do it all by yourself when you can assimilate a team where you have, or a mentor or something that you have that's closer to you, and you get close and you could just get the information and get their mistakes, get their stuff that they have. And then you're like, all right, I get it. Then when you go to the next thing, you be well off and well more experienced, and it's saving a lot of time and a lot of mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, but you'll save you from a whole lot of other mistakes.
Yeah.
And so, well, what we're talking about is just trying to get our quality of life and trying to get the most out of it, is trying to be as smart and as sufficient as possible as far as how we utilize our time and what are we doing and what are we putting our time in.
You think that it also means that we need to put ourselves in circles and societies or groups,
right,
that are also part of the world we want to be part of? Like that could be part of the mentorship?
Absolutely. No, that's exactly what it is. But a lot of us, and just with what's going on now with social media, and we got YouTube, we got all this stuff, a lot of people feel like they can do it all by themselves. They feel like, I don't need nobody. I got YouTube, I got this. But having people and going to these circles and channels, there's going to be certain blocks or certain things, doors that, that won't open unless you know people or you networked with, or you in certain circles.
So having access to the information online is great, but the ability to connect in a social group, social setting, allows an individual to actually break that internet plane and actually build a relationship with you one-on-one.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's real. So that in itself will create, that's where it will create the opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And then your gifts will open the doors up for you. And looking at it from a perspective that this is not just about you. You don't know what, you're probably a piece to another puzzle or something like that, that's going to a higher cause or a higher thing or building something bigger. And a lot of times in our minds, we thinking we got our dreams and we got our admirations and different things that we want to do individually, but conceptual, like as far as the concept and as far as everything else around, you don't know. You're probably just a piece of the puzzle. If you me in the world of music and just like studying like Timbaland and Missy and Leah and all their little group they had.
Now, were they all from Virginia? For like Pharrell, all of them?
I think Pharrell, Missy was. I don't know if Aaliyah and everybody else was, but eventually they all connected. They all got connected somehow.
Yeah.
And just listening to their story, I mean, if you listen to everybody's stories of how they got successful, they got to a certain point. There was somewhere in a point to where they didn't allow ego, or they were just like, oh, I see something in you that I need, and then the other person saw something that they needed in the other person, and then they just like, yo, the vibe is good, so let's work together. And let's
so by coming together, they were able to take advantage of each other's strengths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when the magic, and that's when everything went. It went skyrocketed. That's when they made history.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff, like with Steve Jobs and, everybody has those relationships that they had. They wouldn't be there without those relationships.
Yeah.
I have never, and I would say this, it's very rare or nearly impossible to see just one person do it all by themselves, as far as, and it depends on what you're trying to get into.
Right.
Now, if you want to get into music, or you want to get into I think everything across the board, you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. Not at all.
Right.
And, because you can't. You got to have, if you are going to do it by yourself, you're going to move it at a smaller level. But if you want to go to that big level, then
you need a team.
You need a team.
Yeah.
You need to open up that, that you got to put down that wall, and you got to learn to trust. And I think a lot of us, we're going into certain situations with trust issues, and we don't want to get close to people. We don't want this and that and that. Well, that means if you don't want to pay that price, then you're going to pay the price in another way.
Yeah, man. I think that's a good place to wrap it up, man. Yeah, everybody, thanks for listening to us on this episode. Make sure to follow us at The Ego Trip Podcast on SoundCloud, on Twitter, and Instagram as well too. So we look forward to seeing you there and follow you on the next show.
Peace.
Yes, sir.